Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Harley Carnes podcast, Harley on the headlines. I am mighty glad that you are there and that you are willing to help us reach out to more people on social media, that sort of thing. Like, subscribe, follow, send some emails around. I do appreciate the help, that's for sure. Well, it sounds like the free nations of the world are going to try to do the right thing about anti-Semitism and make it stop. Like I said, now it looks like and it sounds like that might happen. We will see. Britain has announced it will make arrests. Australia's prime minister has announced a crackdown on hate speech, which is a slippery slope crackdown. That kind of terminology is pretty slippery slope. It's a reaction to the Bondi Beach mass shooting, of course. Hate speech has proven to be a slippery slope for this reason. It's not clearly definable except by the government, which can decide a broad range of critical conversation, normally protected by the notion of freedom of speech, is suddenly a sign of hate and division. Anthony Albanese said a whole package of legislation will be developed aimed at cracking down on, quote, those who spread hate, division, and radicalization. Used to be, preachers and imams and other religious leaders could say things the rest of us might not get away with. No longer, under the proposals in Australia, at least. The sorts of things we can all agree on, however, are no more protest signs that say things like gas the Jews or globalize the Intifada. And organizations whose leaders preach that message could, should, and just might be targets for arrest and sanctions of some kind, because what they are teaching is radicalization, violence, hate, and cruelty that leads to terror, murder, and a cancer in society. Getting the balance right between the right to speak freely and the crime of fomenting hate with words is always challenging, but it is one we must address. No speech, no protest signs, no words except maybe, oops. For the four men on another Venezuelan drug boat might as well learn the initials DTO. We'll start to hear it more and more as an actual war unfolds on drugs and the cartels that make, supply, smuggle, and sell them. DTO means Designated Terrorist Organization. It's the declaration that gives the president the right to commit military force. These are individual pinpoint strikes in international waters mostly, with little to no risk of collateral damage for the War Department. It is as pristine as military actions get, taking out always armed, cartel soldiers who are attacking America's very fabric with life-destroying poisons. There would likely be no kickback about it if it weren't for the toxic levels of liberal politics in this country and the media that enjoys propagating it. Dan Bongino is resigning from the FBI. He has been a very public part of the new FBI under Director Kash Patel. He will evidently be going back to his successful conservative punditry and podcasts. Bongino was a Secret Service agent for 12 years, but he made some claims that proved not to be true. Thought the attempted pipe bombings, of GOP and Democrat offices leading up to January 6th was an inside job by someone in the FBI. He pushed the investigation into it, and when an arrest came, it was not an FBI insider. He also claimed Jeffrey Epstein had a client list that would prove explosive if released, and he wanted it released. If there is one, it has not yet been found. Attorney General Pam Bondi has said, far as investigators can tell, there is no such list. Bongino is leaving the FBI under a shower of praise from his bosses, including the president, but clearly there is a thin cloud. It'll probably make his podcast even bigger. NASA has a new administrator, and this guy is a space guy through and through. He starts with $1 billion plus of his own, and Jared Isaacman is also a private astronaut, which means he has used a bunch of his own money to go to space, first as commander of Inspiration 4, the first all-civilian spaceflight on a SpaceX ship, Resilience. He also commanded Polaris Dawn, another SpaceX flight, and became the first private citizen to walk in space. He's the founder of Draken International, a company that provides adversary training for U.S., British, and other NATO air forces. He's a good friend of Elon Musk, and he will be all about going back to the moon with the Artemis program. No way he wants to see Chinese astronauts on the moon before we get there again. I don't think any of us want to see that. President Trump made a short speech last night from the White House, available nationally. He announced plans for a bonus check for U.S. military personnel, $1,776, $1,776. That's the amount of the check. He also talked about the economy, said Sleepy Joe is the reason the country is the mess that he inherited. He's predicting that the rest of his administration will be economically outstanding. It has been an amazing first year. The size and number on the list of his accomplishments is, in fact, historic, more than anyone else ever. This is both interesting and alarming from the Associated Press, which says today, Russia has been conducting a hybrid war already in Europe, that Russian agents or provocateurs working for them have committed at least 145 incidents of sabotage, World War II type stuff, like disabling a train, random explosives, vandalism of monuments, warehouse fires, cyber attacks. Each one requires investigation in a range of European cities involving local, regional, even national police forces, sucking up energy, resources, and time, disrupting lives. Russia is being your basic or actually quite advanced pain in the ass for Europe. The AP says one large intelligence service says they spend as much time working on these Russian sabotage incidents as they do on terrorism. Why? Well, the simple answer is that sowing seeds of confusion and wasted resource has long been a part of the KGB playbook, and all of these incidents have come after the war in Ukraine got underway and after Europe has decided that it will support Ukraine. A deadline for the disarming of Hezbollah is fast approaching. The terror group is supposed to lay down its own arms. They have shown no signs of doing that. And so Israel has sent a reminder, a cluster of airstrikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon. Now, Israel is not alone in this. The committee monitoring enforcement of the U.S. brokered ceasefire includes U.S., French, Saudi, and UN peacekeeping forces. Pope Leo XIV is from Chicago. He has appointed a fellow Chicagoan to be the next Archbishop of New York City. Longtime Cardinal Timothy Dolan is retiring, timing out of the job at the age of 75. Hicks is being well received by fellow Roman Catholic clergy, and by the way, Leo and Hicks are not longtime buddies. They came from the same area, but they first met last year. This is probably a good move by the Academy Awards. The Oscar ceremony show is leaving ABC and moving to YouTube in 2029. Since YouTube is purely a streaming service, it means the number of viewers might actually go up because people are accustomed to the idea of watching something on YouTube whenever they take a notion instead of according to a schedule, like ABC, NBC, CBS, and so forth have to do it. ABC's last year with the Oscars will be 2028, and that will be the 100th anniversary year of the Oscars in Hollywood. There were more screams and shrieks and nervous noises than usual during a flight from the Netherlands to Aruba. It was a KLM flight, and the big rat that stowed away on the plane and ran around among the passengers was discovered too late to think about turning around. They were already over the ocean. Besides, rat catching is not on the list of emergency procedures. KLM apologized to passengers who had to go through that. Passengers who had planned to fly on past Aruba to Bonaire, the same plane that had been the itinerary, had to make other arrangements. The plane was grounded so the cleaning crew and the exterminators could track down that trespasser. Guess that'll do it for today's Harley on the Headlines. I want to thank you, by the way, for liking, following, subscribing, sending an email to a friend. It all helps. Yeah, we found emails are the strongest, but whatever you do, I'll appreciate it. Have an outstanding day and fly safe. I'm Harley Carnes, and we'll see you tomorrow.